Now, development in the Middle East is hitting hard locally than we initially thought in terms of the economy and even directly to businesses. So it's no longer about the pump prices, but also about supply chain concerns. So like shipping costs hitting the roof. So what are the options for businesses in terms of these times? And should consumers brace themselves for paying more? And what about the impact on inflation? This evening, you're looking at the impact on businesses and what strategies should they employ to stay in business in terms of what is happening in the Middle East right now. We had the Shippers Authority saying that the cost of shipping, freight, insurance is going to go up significantly because of this. So if you are in business, how should you strategize to be in this space? Are you going to absorb the cost or you're going to pass it as consumers? Don't forget that consumers and crude prices have hit almost $100 a barrel. And the projections are that for a liter, be prepared to pay as much as 18 Ghana cedis for a liter of diesel or petrol. But how are our friends in the business space going to manage all these things? Last week, we looked at the economy. Today, we're looking at the impact of development in the Middle East on businesses, those who are in the import business, those who are in the beverage space, those who are in the manufacturing sector. How do they survive these current challenges? All these issues wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition as I engage the chairman of the Food and Beverage Association, Mr. JoyNews, who is joining me gladly in studio to talk about all these developments. Also on Zoom, I'll be engaging the Association of Ghana Analysts, those who are in the manufacturing space. How are they going to manage the supply chain issues, delays in getting their inputs to produce as well? And also be getting the thoughts of a finance person about how should these businesses manage. What about those who have taken loans from the commercial banks? In these times, the banks will be demanding their money is all right when the time is due to settle them. How should they strategize in all these challenges to manage it? All these issues wrapped up here on PM Express Business Edition. Right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. Oil prices are hitting the roof on the international market. Development in the Middle East has seen the shipping lines increase their cost, freight, and insurance. But this evening on PM Express, you're looking at how is this impacting on businesses in Ghana and how are they strategizing to stay in business. We're already coming from a round of challenges last year that some firms were just trying to recover. Now, how bad will this impact on the operations? Are they going to absorb the expected cost or they'll pass it on to us? If you look at the numbers in terms of crude hitting about $100 a barrel, the projections are that you could see a liter of petrol hit about 14, 16 Ghana cedis or 17 Ghana cedis. Somebody has to pay for this cost of operations going up. Supply chain issues as well. How are they going to manage it in terms of getting those inputs when it comes to production? Well, on PM Express Business tonight, you're looking at the impact of developments in the Middle East and how it's affecting local businesses as crude prices also hit the roof. And with me in studio here, I have the chairman of the Food and Beverage Association, that is Mr. JoyNews, and also on Zoom, I'll be engaging the Chief Executive Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chumakobwa, coming from the manufacturing sector, and also Chief Executive of Deluxe Finance, Joe Jackson, will be helping us with some advice for those who are taking money from the banks. How did they manage it at this time? Mr. Oni, I appreciate your time so much for pulling me in the studio. Mr. Oni is very busy in the evenings, but he has some precious time for us. So how's the industry doing? I know that you've been going through a lot of challenges. You've been raising some issues. You've been on a campaign. It looks like government had heard your call and cry in terms of taking a second look at the influx of goods that are not paying taxes. The food and the beverage sector, how is it doing now?
I think so far we're doing well. I would say that relatively the government, since the assumed office, has been doing extremely well. It has brought down the economic temperature of the country. The exchange rate is relatively very stable. As at yesterday, I think that in the bureaus, you could get a dollar at 11.7, 11.6 cedis to $1. That is very stable. It enables businesses in the industry to plan, both importers and manufacturers to plan. Relatively, fuel prices are kind of quite good for now.
That's then, but the outlook is not looking good for
yeah, well, we'll look into that. But just for review, I think that so far we are doing well. Inflation is at around 3 point something, but the rate of price increases is quite very slow. There haven't been any much disruptions. And recently, the government has also had, since I have been on this campaign since last year, talking about smuggling, closing loopholes and all that. The government, His Excellency the President, personally even talked about the ban on transit goods, which has been a very huge loophole in tax evasion in this country for years. And we have been talking to people about it. Now they have listened to that. They have put in some selected goods for a ban on transit. I think that there's still some refinement we can do, but so far it is good. Industry, importers are happy. Manufacturers, I believe, we are all doing well. And so I wouldn't say that things are bad. The government so far is doing well for businesses. They have refined the VAT system, even though my colleagues in the informal sector, like Guta and whatever, not the kind of tax now they have done in terms of 20% VAT for them and all that, depending on the threshold. We still have some issues in that area, but generally the government has tried its best to kind of be business friendly, to also kind of be listen to industry and to listen to the voices of the people. I think that we are quite happy for now.
In terms of the restrictions on some of these imported goods, in terms of the landed goods, from what you're picking on the ground, is the enforcement going well? Because I told people that this is not the first time we've had these things happening, people smuggling goods and all the rest. The problem has got to do with enforcing it when it comes to people paying the right taxes and the channels that they are bringing these things.
I think that the people at the helm of affairs are committed to that. We are under the IMF program. We have targets to meet in terms of revenue mobilization as a country. The finance minister, I've known him for quite some time, and I think that he's very much committed to achieving the results. The GRA commissioner, I don't know him, but I know his background and all that. I think that KPMG is well endowed to handle that. Recently, they've brought in a new custom commissioner. These are all aimed at ensuring that the enforcement is well done. So the whole thing is to have the balls to achieve the results. And I think that they are putting in things in place to be able to have the balls. Once they have come in with this ban, in 2006 or 7 thereabout, His Excellency the President, John Ajekun Kufuor, then, we advocated and they came with a ban. They achieved a lot in terms of that. So we are expecting that with this ban will be well enforced. And once they begin to see that revenue is increasing through the product, from the products that they have put a ban, there's no reason why they should not enforce. I think that just some of the bit of it is political. Because, for instance, it's the same people, party people and all that, that will try to take advantage of the system and say that this is transit goods, and then so they will end up bringing it and landing it in Tamale, Kumasi, Accra, or whatever not. But I think that they just have to, it's early days. I wouldn't put a judgment on. I'm positive that they will do it well. We have given them leads that the transit goods regime is a very big loophole for tax evasion. And it has been happening for years. And once they have adhered to that, if there's any other thing somewhere, we may have to assign. But this national security is there. They have people to go on the ground and also look at. Just that for now, I am not too clear about, they say transit from Togo, from Cote d'Ivoire, from the land borders and then all that. So we are saying from. But I'm not clear whether, assuming we also land the goods from at the Tema port, can you take it to Togo? Can you take it to Cote d'Ivoire from Tema port? Is it allowed? If it is allowed, maybe they need to look at that area too, because clearly we can still bring in, people can still bring in the goods in Tema Port and say that we are sending to our customers in Togo. Then when they get to Aflao, they offload. When they get to Tamale, they offload. When they get to Kumasi, they offload. So that is still something, but it must be very clear, and government have to understand that the transit regime is a huge loophole for tax evasion. And I have been saying, and indeed a lot of people, businesses are calling, both manufacturers and then importers, and said, can they include this product? Somebody's talking about, let them include mackerel, because in fact, most of the schools are consuming mackerel. So that is something that is, so sardines, mosquito spray, and most of the necessary products, a lot of the fruit juices and all that, let them include. They are calling, they are sending messages, let them include all this, because in fact, there are a lot. In fact, there's a company that's called this one, said that we have a lot of tax, these goods that are in the market that are fake. We are brand owners, but they have brought them from Cote d'Ivoire. They have not paid the appropriate taxes. They have tax price advantage over us in the market. So let them include these products and then all that. So we are looking forward, and I will begin to continue to campaign. Let them expand the list. Rice, sugar, spaghetti, and all that is just a few. Yeah. Let them expand it. Because at the end of the day, particularly in times of this global crisis, it gives us opportunity to raise more revenue through this ban. Because goods will pass, all goods will pass through the Tema Port. Appropriate taxes will be paid, and the government will make more money.
Mr. Winnie, let me come back to you on what is happening currently. I know your members are quite heavy when it comes to import of their stuff. And if I'm right, there was a recent data from the Ghana Scout Service that talked about how we import a lot from the Asian region. Has this development, for now, impacted on import in terms of the timeline? Because the shipping lines have increased their freight cost, insurance cost has gone up. There are issues about supply chain issues and all those things. What are your members telling in terms of people who have had import delaying, request delaying and all the rest? What is the situation in terms of what is happening in the Middle East and Asia, and how it's affecting your members?
Well, thank you very much, and that's a very great question, George. But let me say that this is just too early days here to begin to say that this is having impact in the industry, because at the end of the day, we are just not, people don't import or people don't manufacture from hand to mouth, so to say, like we import certain goods just for 1 month. People plan ahead, way ahead. So for now, I would say that there shouldn't be any panic in the Ghanaian market. We have a lot of goods in the market. What is happening now is just demand is very low. And because demand is low in the country currently, goods are stocked. Goods are stocked. So we have a lot of goods stocked in the market. As to what will happen subsequently will depend on how long this war will go, how long it will take, and then how government also handles certain parameters or things in the country. How will the government handle inflation? How will the government handle exchange rate? How will the government handle fuel price issues? How will the government handle ECG, electricity utilities, and all that? Those ones are the things that whatever will happen will depend on how government will handle that. But for now, I wouldn't say that we should panic that, well, people prices will go up. Yes, it is true. Ships are beginning to reroute. Yeah. It is true.
That has impact on timeline for
that have
of those
impact
goods.
On timeline. But that doesn't mean that in delivery goods. But that doesn't mean that there's shortage in the market. There's no shortage. That doesn't mean that in the next 1 month people cannot manufacture, or next two weeks people cannot manufacture. I don't think that there should be any need for us to create that panic in the system. Goods are well saturated in the market for now. So I think that as a country, we are not in there yet. Immediately we are not.
But what if
having that
it
challenge.
drags?
And
what if it drags? I mean, we knew about the Russian-Ukraine when we're told by Russians that this is going to be a day's military operation. We've seen what is happening right now. Maybe the scenarios are different, but if it drags, what could be the impact on your members?
This country is presented with opportunities and risks regarding this war. As I speak, we are a country that imports raw materials to manufacture. We also import finished products for consumption. Then we also produce what? Locally. As I speak now, there's so much maize locally produced, so much sorghum locally produced, beans, yam, a whole lot of products people are having it in their warehouses. They have nowhere to, they can't sell it. That is an opportunity locally for us. Then again, for the imports, we have goods or imports or manufacturing. We have goods, and my colleague from Asia, of course, food and beverage members are not only importers. We have manufacturers also part of us, so we talk with them. We are a sub-group of AGI, and their members are also part of us. So we have, at the end of the day, we have people that are stock a lot of these goods, and they are hoping that they can sell. So if government doesn't handle these things, and maybe there's a shortage and whatever not, it is time maybe at wartime and all that, sometimes it can provide very great opportunities. And so to say, people can begin to source locally. And then,
but for you, if for now there's no cause for alarm in terms of the supply chain,
I wouldn't say there is any.
But what if
alarm.
This issue drags? It could have implications.
If drugs prices will go up, the rate at which prices will go up will depend, or it's a function of how government handles exchange rate pressures. And I'm talking about exchange rate pressures because war of this kind internationally normally creates a scenario where the dollar becomes stronger and other currencies become weaker. So it is very much possible that this war will make the dollar stronger. If it makes it stronger, what will happen to our city? How will the government handle the cities currently, how they are handling it? Will they be able to handle it that it doesn't slide so huge? Will it be still quite stable with just plus or minus depreciation? It depends on how they handle that. If they handle it well, then there will be much losses accumulated by businesses, which will be transferred to the consumer.
Increasing prices.
Exactly. Yeah. If the government holds on ECG, and then ECG people who have been on them for some time now, they have no reason to increase tariffs, whatever. I know they did that, and we are entering another quarter. They may be contemplating talking about trying to increase.
I'll come to the tariffs.
No, but I'm just talking about factors that can create a scenario of heavy price increases. That's why I'm bringing this thing. So ECG tariff rate will be utilities generally, will be what will be a function of how government handles that. How government handles this ban thing, this transit ban thing, is also another scenario that can create whether the prices can escalate or they cannot escalate. So it's a whole lot of stuff. Of course, so the government has an opportunity to deal with it. For now, I don't think that we have issue to panic. Fuel prices.
I'll come to that, but let me go down to the line and get the thoughts of another colleague of yours, Sir Chima Kabwa, is the Chief Executive Association of Ghana Industries, deep into manufacturing. Does this problem about shipping lines, increasing freight costs, insurance costs, presents a challenge for your members when it comes to supply chain issues, input cost, and input stuff for manufacturing? Or maybe, George, for now, we're okay?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, George. Yes, you're right. For now, we seem to be okay, but we are concerned. We are concerned because if it drags, it will have an implication. And as Mr. Oni said, normally companies stock, and for typical manufacturing, there's a cycle, at least 3-month cycle to 6-month cycle. So when you buy your inputs, you clear the ports. Those that you are producing locally also you stock, you process, and then you send to the market. During that period, if there are major disruptions, it may not affect you much because we have bought the goods at a particular price. You may have stocked them at a particular cost and processing them at a particular cost. So you wouldn't see the disruptions affecting you so much at the very beginning. So for now, I could say that we don't need to panic. Companies are reasonably stable in their minds. However, when it drags, that is where the problem comes. because no matter amount of stock you have, it will get finished at some point. Then you need to import. When you import, the question will be, will you get the imports at the same cost as you did before? Remember that a lot of the inputs we process, or the manufacturing we do in the country, we import quite a lot of our inputs. The machinery are coming from outside, the raw materials, a lot of it is coming from, apart from the agri-business related ones, a lot of the light manufacturing, we import the inputs, and it's coming from the various parts of the world, especially Southeast Asia and the rest, and they are all having challenges as a result of this war that is going on. So eventually, if the situation drags, there will definitely be an impact in a negative way, because your cost of production will go up as a result of the input cost going up. And why would the input cost go up? They will go up because your landed cost is going to go up. Fuel prices may be affected. The supply chain is getting disrupted. The volumes you may need, you may not get at the time you need. It's becoming longer. It is taking much longer before you get your goods. And once it's taking a longer route, the shipping lines are going to add more. Already there are charges they call the war risk charges that are being imposed, and it's as high as $1,500 to $2,000 per container. So if this is added to your cost and unplanned, you can imagine the impact. That's why we are all hoping that Uncle Trump would sit down with the people and quickly iron out their differences, and let's move on as a world and as a nation, so that we don't get too long a disruption. Because if it lasts and it drags, it's definitely going to have an effect. For now, we are not panicking. We are just hoping and waiting to see how things progress.
Mr. Koba, let's look at the present danger or an immediate situation right now. If this thing about supply chain issue is more of much ado about nothing because you have enough stocks, the bit about fuel prices, and we are being told that we could see a spike between 14 to 16 Ghana cedis per liter for diesel. Diesel might be the hardest hit. Industries could be dependent a lot on diesel. Fuel prices are going to go up. What could be the implications? I mean, it could be the biggest increase in recent times on the cost of production for industries. And this one will take place on Monday. This is not whether if or not. How is that going to impact on your operations?
Well, definitely, if the prices of fuel go up, it will have serious impact. Even though, let me quickly say that from Monday or next week, if there is new tariffs that is coming up or whatever, we don't expect that to impact on it immediately, because for now, it's always a historical arrangement of payment, of calculating the fuel prices. So if there are new prices that is coming up in terms of the fuel, it should affect electricity, for example, in subsequent reviews. Now, definitely if the fuel prices go up, it has an effect, because one, cost of production is going to go up. As we said, diesel is used by companies operating machines, vehicles that are running around, the trucks that are moving things, so your cost of production is going to go up. Secondly, remember that when it comes to the calculation of the tariffs, for example, the energy tariffs, one major factor or element in the cost structure is the fuel prices and then the exchange rate. So if fuel prices go up, it affects the mix in terms of calculation of the fuel tariffs. And therefore, if it is going to affect it, then you are likely to have some effect on your energy costs. Energy costs add to your cost of production, and therefore the total cost of production will go up and your price must come up in order to be able to stay in business. So definitely the fuel prices, we don't expect it to go up immediately, but if it does, of course, we know that the international level is going up.
No, but for locally, Mr. Kabwa, we understand from the oil marketing, the 2-week review, NPA has reviewed the price floor. It has gone up significantly. From Monday, it is going to go up. They are still weighing on the margins and where they can absorb and all those things. So that one is a constant factor that is going to go up. And I'm looking at the implications on your operations when this thing is going to go up from Monday 16th.
Oh, sure. Once it goes up on Monday, it will have an effect. because immediately transportation cost is going to go up. And remember that when transportation costs go up, it affects every aspect of our work. Remember that the goods that are being imported, either from outside and also those that are being transported from various parts of the country to our factories, they are all coming with cost. And the cost includes the transportation cost. And therefore, when the fuel prices goes up, it affects everything. Besides, inflation will jump up. Because when inflation goes up, it means that the price of the goods you are even going to buy, the inputs you are buying, those prices will also go up. So apart from the direct transportation cost, the indirect effect on the price of goods is also going to be affecting you. And then when you add it all together, there will be labor agitations because your labor cost, people are feeling the pinch. You think that, hey, I need to get a lot more money to be able to take the same transport that I've been taking every day. And therefore, there will be agitation. Businesses have to absorb that. How do they absorb it? They have to add it to their cost. If you add it to your cost, you are increasing your cost of production. And therefore, if the increase is just marginal, very minor, industries try to absorb some of these costs. Because if there have been some stability, it has helped you to plan a little bit, and they always make room for some adjustments. So minor adjustments can be accommodated. But if it's high, then definitely it will have a negative impact on cost.
And I get you that you are not going to absorb this cost. Obviously, Wiafe would take care of that cost as a consumer.
Well, it depends a lot. Normally, when there are initial changes and adjustments to cost, you don't pass it on immediately to your consumers. But remember that it's a very competitive market, and when you just pass on costs like that, you are just changing the prices of your products and you lose the competition. So normally, that is not the practice of industries. It varies from company to company though, because some have enough shock absorbers. They have made enough provisions so they can absorb it. Some can even go to the extent of absorbing losses. They can be making losses for a short period because they have the capacity to absorb that. But beyond a certain point, they will have no choice than to pass on, because otherwise you will not stay in business. And nobody makes a business where your revenue is less than your cost. You can't survive on that basis. Initially, they will absorb it. And then if it's possible to adjust prices, they adjust. Remember, when we started having some stability in the macroeconomic environment, there was a lot of agitation by the general public. You have to reduce your prices, industry, reduce your prices. Cost of production is coming down because exchange rate is improving, fuel prices are coming down, so reduce your prices. And then we said, we don't adjust prices immediately like that. And the other way around, when cost is also going up, we don't immediately pass on the cost to consumers. So don't be surprised that on Monday, if the fuel prices go up, you will not see even maybe any serious changes in the prices of goods because people are probably absorbing it. The same way that when things improve, you cannot also immediately pass it on in the form of lowering the prices. So I think it's an adjustment mechanism that industries have, and they operate this within a reasonable period. Within 3 months, you can gauge and monitor. And on the basis of that, your prices could be affected to keep you in business.
Mr. Winnie, fuel prices going up. Are you going to absorb it? Are your members going to absorb the price?
No, well, like my friend said, it's not going to be quite an immediate, like fuel prices have gone up on Monday, then on Tuesday you go to the to town.
It will take some time.
What will happen is that, from my research in the markets, for industry and those who import the industry, the prices may not just change within, because the prices have been sold to the people in the market, like the retailers have taken it at a certain price and a certain exchange rate. And these are goods that are on credit. So at the end of the day, those goods are going to be in the market at the old price. And if you have a 1 month credit supply, you got to sell those goods at that old price. And when you go back to restock, then if the wholesalers or the manufacturers give you a new price, then that's how you have to now go back and then put it back into the market at the new price. So I don't think that fuel prices or whatever prices go up immediately, then, hey, because you didn't buy the goods at all those new fuel prices. So it is the next purchase window that you can only now adjust your prices. But let me say that what you will see price changes because immediately will be the locally if I say local, not the manufacturing, like the plantains, the yam, all those our market, Agbogboleshi, Madina, all those people, the markets. As soon as they say fuel prices have gone up, transport fares have gone up, then you find them just increasing indiscriminately. That is what the issue is. But the organized...
their input cost has gone up.
They
borrowed from the banks. Maybe your guy members are big. They can absorb the shocks. For that small-scale manufacturer or small-scale trader,
no,
he or she cannot absorb.
Fuel prices going up definitely will reflect in the market. It definitely will reflect prices in the market. But I would say that this government... And this is an advocacy. This government has done so well in keeping things quite stable and organized. They don't have to lose it. I think that they also have to put themselves together and just see how they can absorb some of these pressures for now, for the next 1 to 3 months, thereabout, depending on how long this thing will last, so that we can still keep the very business-friendly environment that we have. We have the Doomsday levy. That is 1 cedi for per what? Liter.
You think it should go off?
Reason why
you think some of the taxes on
this particular
the price build-up should go off?
Some of the taxes should go off. This Doomsday levy should go off. They should hold back. If ECG is threatening or trying to secretly increase their tariffs, they must not allow them to do so. So that, and then they can hold on the exchange rate. If they are able to hold on these numbers, these are the ones that affect our businesses. And the consumer will not suffer. Because as it is now, demand is very low in the market. There's no interest in the life of any business, whether you are a manufacturer or importer, to increase prices. Because the demand is already low. People go out there, they are not selling. You have to pay your suppliers. You have suppliers credit 1 month, 2 months, 1 month, 3 weeks, whatever not. So you have to pay. So your interest is in turning your stock as quick as possible rather than making supernormal profits. So for now, businesses are not interested in hiking those prices. Government have to make sure that they can come in and absorb some of these pressures. And let us not just let go and say that fuel prices have gone up and then it goes. Meantime, you can absorb some of the taxes.
You think government should always do that now?
We have always operated with our Doomsday levy. Why can't Doomsday levy go off?
But that has been used to actually settle the debts and also
ECG, I was at TV3 the last time. We were talking about ECG overcharging tariffs. The tariff, whatever calculations, they had done that over 11 million or billion, one of cities. They are actually supposed to reduce tariffs in this next quarter to compensate
what
that.
If,
they have sent out...
Let me do a scenario B. The economists would say, all other things being equal. What if you wake up from tomorrow morning and tariffs are up? What is your response?
Tariffs are up.
Which is likely?
Well, if tariffs go up, prices go up. They mean that the government is losing it. It's losing it.
Why don't you absorb this one?
Why will you absorb ECG? Why will you absorb...
The market is competitive.
No, it's competitive. You transfer to the consumer. It means that you don't want to protect your consumers. As a country, you don't want to protect your consumers. Send it out. We will transfer the cost to the consumers. And businesses begin to shrink. Look, a lot of people are coming into this country to invest because of the stability of the currency and the nature of the government now. So if they lose it, then they would have lost a huge opportunity they have created for the past 1 year, 3 months or so. So I think that they should just, His Excellency the President and his cabinet must not lose it. We have confidence in that what they have done is huge.
You want them to come in and absorb some of these taxes. They are saying that it's a give and take. Now, the stability we are enjoying comes with people honoring their tax obligations, people paying the right price for the consumption of power. Now, if tomorrow the tariffs go up, why are you not absorbing
they have currently closed a huge loophole in the tax evasion system, that transit ban thing. I am very confident that if they enforce it to the letter, or 80–90% of it is enforced, they will see how much money they will make. So it is not just about, because we are in the system. That has been a major thing that's been happening. So what they have done, they should begin to see in more revenue coming in. Smuggling will reduce if they really enforce this thing. If smuggling reduces and transit goods generally comes through Tema and they shepherd it to wherever its final destination, a lot of things, traffic will begin to come to the Tema port. And at the end of the day, that will all amount to increase in revenue. In any case, we are not saying that we are having a war for 1 year, the war 2 years. We hope that it doesn't last like that. So for now, we have to just adopt measures that all of us can contain. Then they can contain the good parameters. The inflation figures they have brought down to 3.4 or whatever not. The exchange rate that is stable. And then the fuel prices that are kind of quite reasonable now. The government should be able to contain that within the next 3 months. So that let's see how things turn around. So that prices don't just escalate. Because because insurance prices are going up like we already talked about. International insurance prices, war charges, emergency charges, and then all that. And even because some vessels are not ready to go and whatever, vessel cost prices of transportation is already gone up. So if they impact, and then also certain goods prices will go up. Packaging materials that rely on petroleum products for manufacturing will go up internationally, because as fuel prices have gone up, the manufacturing of these plastic things that rely on petroleum things will go up. Fertilizer prices will go up. So the next crop season, most of the fertilizer that comes from those Middle East countries and whatever and all that, the fertilizer prices will go up. So the next cropping season is likely that farmers will incur higher costs in producing maize, soya beans, all those things locally. So the prices will go up. So this is going to be a long haul. Fertilizer is already affected. We are moving into the rainy season. And so local production costs will definitely go up. And already we have higher production costs in the country. And that has been a major headache in this country. So you don't want to allow that. That is something that the government needs to look at. That yes, my local production is already affected by this war, because there's no farm in this country now that don't use fertilizer. And fertilizer cost is going to go up seriously. And since fuel prices have gone up, almost have $100 per barrel, then fertilizer will go up, transport will go up, all whatever. So the government has to absorb that. They just not operate like as usual. Businesses are ready to cooperate. I went around studios in this country campaigning that let prices go down, let prices go down, and indeed prices went down. So I expect that the government should be able to absorb this, and things are kind of quite stable, so that they can make it quite easy for the consumer to be able to purchase, and then business will run well.
Sir Chimakabwa, I mean, again, another scenario I want to present to you, which it is possible, is that if you wake up tomorrow morning and duty tariffs have gone up. Again, it compounds your cost situations as well. What will be industry's response to it, and how are you going to manage the situation?
Well, as I said earlier, and I would like to reiterate that point, that a sudden change in cost does not necessarily translate into sudden change in price. And the reason is that businesses plan, and they plan ahead. So they look at historical pricing and they look at the future pricing. Historically, that's a few weeks or months before, based on their cost of production and the stocks they have. If the prices that is coming up, the cost is going up as a result of changes in some of the key prices, they will not necessarily say, let me change my price in order to absorb it. What they rather do is that they look at what it costs them to produce. They look at their margins. Once I can recover my cost and make some margins, I can even sell at the old price and not necessarily adjust my price. When it takes a little while, they will look at it, because they know that some of these changes are also quite volatile. Today it goes up, another day it goes. I mean, if you look at the fuel international oil prices, it came up all the way to 100 and something. It dropped the same week to 90. It came all the way to 83. Then it went to 88. Now it's gone up again. So when you have such volatility, you cannot be changing your prices in tandem with the slightest shake in the international price. No business does that, especially at the manufacturing level, where you are planning and calculating and You have customers you may have even sold your goods to in forward. Remember that goods sold are also on contract basis. So somebody may have even placed an order based on a certain price, paid for it, and then when you are transferring the goods to him, you say because cost of fuel has gone up, I'm increasing the price in the middle of the agreement. It's never done. So if it goes up on Monday, as you're saying, we may not necessarily see changes in prices. But if it takes a bit longer and we don't see the fuel prices coming down, in the next calculation, that will be factored. And when it's factored, depending on the sector you operate, depending on the competition you are facing, depending on your absorptive capacity, you'll probably be able to pass on part of the cost to your customers in the form of slightly increasing prices, or you'll be able to absorb some of them.
Mr. Kwabo, I was talking about...
However, you have to pass it on.
I'm talking about utility tariffs because they are something we're picking up from the industry. And I know you might be aware that there is a likelihood that tariffs could go up from tomorrow. What is the reaction of the manufacturing sector to this?
First of all, I have a contrary opinion.
Okay.
I don't see why tariffs should go up for industries in particular. Okay. I don't see why. Because we have a system of calculating the tariffs. We have the major tariff adjustment, which has already been done. And then we have the automatic adjustment formula, which is based on certain parameters. And the parameters that is based on, for the past few weeks or so, a month or so, we've not had that significant changes in those parameters. If anything at all, we may have even made some gains. So I don't expect that because today, less than 2 weeks ago, we've had this international problem with the oil, with the war going on, and suddenly we should change our tariff level because cost of fuel is going up. We don't do that. If you look at the historical data, I don't think that there's been any significant shift in the price over the period of the assessment that should warrant increase in tariffs. I don't expect increase in tariffs, especially for industries. I'm not expecting that. But your question is a bit rhetorical, that if it goes up, what happens? If it goes up, it depends again on the extent to which it goes up. If it goes up by 1%, 2%, a slight shift, companies normally absorb it. It is when it's a huge jump that they cannot absorb and then they pass it on. And I'm not expecting that huge jump in the next review of the tariffs.
I'll come to Mr. Win, and I'll throw this question to all the two of you here. I get from you that, see, these things are not immediate. I know you've taken bank, most of you have taken credit, debts, and all the rest to do the business and all the rest. How long can you guys, I'll do manufacturing and for back, hold on to these things when at the end of the day you have a facility that is running every day that you have to go back to the bank and settle in the next 2 or 3 months? Let's look at trying to be competitive, managing the cost, i.e. the facility that you take in from the bank needs to be settled as well.
Yes, so facility you've taken from the bank needs to be settled. But that facility was taken on a certain condition. That condition is clearly spelled out in an agreement that has been signed. A certain interest rate has been fixed, and it's fixed for a period. After a while, of course, the interest cost can change depending on the parameters. If it hasn't changed, it means your cost has remained same. It hasn't added to your cost. So what is most important is to be able to sell. Because if you increase your prices and you increase it so high, and people are not buying your goods, you are not getting the revenue to be able to pay the bank either. So you don't want that to happen. You want to be able to constantly pay your loan facility so that you become a credible customer. And then in future, when you go for another facility, they give it to you. You don't take advantage of a sudden change in international oil prices and jack up your prices so you can pay your facility. I don't think that's how businesses work. I can imagine that if the terms of the agreement between you and the bank requires that there should be a change in the interest rate as a result of external factors of this nature. When it happens, of course, you also have to adjust your price because that becomes an additional cost. But that doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of engagement, a period of assessment, a reasonable time lag to get all these things right before it changes. So it doesn't change. In typical manufacturing, you don't just change prices because a cost element has increased or changed. It doesn't happen like that.
Mr. Woody, I mean, another thing that has come up recently is about the cost of credit, interest rates, and all the rest. And some people say we were on a certain path. It looks like what is happening right now, the fear of inflation going up and all the rest. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana is going to meet next week. I mean, what is your charge to them? Because there's a school of thought that is saying that don't reduce the policy rates because of the expected unforeseen circumstances. There's another school of thought that have argued that all the variables that we are seeing right now justify or makes a strong case for the policy rate to go down so that we could see interest rates decline. For you are the beverage manufacturers and businesses, what are your concerns here?
I don't think that the major concerns for the industry is not basically these interest rates. These are long-term stuff. If you take a loan, you are paying over 2, 3, 4, 5 years. These are long-term things that you service. So you don't keep on worried that, well, interest rates go up maybe by 1%, 2%, so it will affect your business. Well, even though even 0.5% can have a significant with the size of the business. I am still emphasizing that the biggest thing that will hit this country in terms of prices will be how the government handles the exchange rate, because that is where a lot of losses are being will be accumulated. How the government handles fuel costs, because that will translate into higher transport and then operating costs for businesses. How the government handles electricity tariffs, that will translate to higher electricity and then generally utility prices. That will translate to higher costs in terms of prices in the market. But in terms of credit is not, bank credit is not too much of an issue for now. It's not an issue for now in terms of a risk factor.
You don't want the rates go down because...
No, the rates can go down because the rates, as it is now, we expect that the rates should go down further to make borrowing much more easier.
And the policy committee and their meetings and their actions has implications on that.
Yeah, exactly. So if we expect that in the next announcement, if they can get the interest rate to go down, inflation going down, interest rates must follow the same way. Inflation is gone down up to 3-point-something, unprecedented. So why wouldn't interest rates go down? And that, in fact, it gives a kind of a certain level of announcement to the international community that this country is doing well. The exchange rate is stable because people can bring in money, and then within 1 month changes or 2 months, they can lose that entire money. But right now, the government has managed to stabilize that significantly. So if they bring down exchange rates, they bring down the interest rate, it will also be a massive addition. But I am saying that at this point in time, this is crucial, the next 2-3 months, government should not allow people to just bring in increases. Like I have in the industry, we are talking about something like smart port node, SPN or whatever, and this, we are talking about fumigation levies. Fumigation levy is there at the port. Why can't they remove it? If they remove it, that is going to bring down a reduction in cost of imports. If they don't allow that SPN, whatever, the smart port node to run at this particular point in time, it's going to bring in a less cost. So there are things that we can do that will take care of the international increases in cost, in terms of transport, insurance, and then all that. There are things that locally, and fuel, there are things that we can do. If we remove take 1 CD per liter, and you buy 100 liters, how much would you have saved? 100 CDs. Times how many thousand liters for an industry. So that would have saved a lot.
I think the Dumsor levy should go.
Dumsor levy definitely must go. At this particular time, if things are working well, they want it to return, fine, it can return. We are paying now, and maybe we are not feeling it because things are kind of better now. So they can take care of that. That's as emergency, as an emergency situation. Then they don't allow any other new things to be done. And I will advocate, I'll talk about fumigation. There's fumigation levy that is just free. They are fumigating what? What is happening? So they should cancel that, remove that fumigation levy thing. They should remove, they should not allow that, what they are talking about, SPN, smart port. The port is efficient. nothing is going to bring. They should hold on until we talk about, until later when things are okay, it can come back on the table. So as citizens now, we need to ensure that government holds on to what they have massively achieved in terms of inflation, exchange rate, reasonable fuel prices, and then all that, so that this war does not derail the course of the government and the course of the country. Prices are very reasonable in the marketplace, so we should allow prices of goods to go up at this point in time. If it has to go up, maybe marginally, because like my friend Seth is talking about, maybe the next 1 month or 2 months, next month or 2 months, that the impact of this war would have been would then come. The war would have been over.
Yeah. So
we will not. We can go back. We can go back again, because clearly, let me see. I was mentioning that earlier on, and then I was interrupted, but there are a lot of things that stands to prices. If you don't manage it well, bread price will go up, biscuits prices will go up, fruit juices will go up, confectionaries, and then beverages, they will go up. Rice is very sensitive. Prices of rice is very sensitive to international wars and whatever not, and transport. It will go up. Sugar will go up. So a lot of if the government loses guard, they may not be able to even get back the achievement they have made. And it may just be a short period of time. So let them just be able to manage themselves and then close. Meantime, they have already taken strong revenue achieving measures. Like I say again, that loophole they have closed is a major loophole they have closed, that it will bring them massive revenue. And if they enforce it, it will compensate for some of the things that they are going to, if they decide to remove the one levy, the fumigation, remove the 1 pesewa on fuel and all that. It will help, because at this point in time, we are in a crisis situation, and government things must not run normal in a normal way.
Mr. Sechuma Kwabwa, let me get your thought on the Monetary Policy Committee and their meeting. As AGI, do you think that there shouldn't be any excuse of watching the current development and let's stay any reduction now? Because there's a school of thought that is arguing that we don't know the impact of this global crisis on the Ghanaian economy if it drags. Therefore, let's hold any reduction now. Association of Ghana Industry, what are your arguments or your thoughts on this in terms of a policy rate reduction being put on hold because of what is happening? Do you want it to go down because of the impact on the cost of credit?
George, I think that when there is a positive development, you have to pass it on. Let your people benefit. When there's a negative development, you pass it on anyway. So if you look at the past, and normally, and we all know that when it comes to fixing of policy rate and the rest, it's not too much projection into the future. It's also based on what the past has been, what has been the past development. And I think in recent past, the indicators, the parameters are all pointing to a positive direction. I mean, Treasury bill rate has come down as low as 5.3%. The inflation has come down 3.5% or so. Exchange rate has improved until now. So all indications are that the policy rate must come down. And when the policy rate comes down, it must also translate into lowering of interest rates. And I think this is what the industry expects. What is happening in the very recent, the last week or so, should not impact on what the Bank of Ghana is going to announce now. Let's take advantage of what has happened in the recent past. The need to bring down the policy rate is still very relevant. Let's bring it down. Let's make sure that the interest rate comes down. People can still borrow and do business. In the future, when unfortunately this situation that we are experiencing now stays longer and it drags, one can understand its effect on the other variables. Then we look at it. So if next week or so there's going to be a change, there's going to be an announcement in the policy rate, we don't expect anything otherwise than a fall, a reduction that should also translate into lowering of interest rates so that people can borrow at a cheaper cost. Remember, when you borrow at a cheaper cost, it means that your cost of production can come down. When your cost of production is coming down, your prices can also come down. So in situations where we've even had changes in the fuel prices, because other costs are coming down, its effect on the consumer will not be so high. But if you quickly make it just a pass-through cost and push it to the businesses in the form of raising the policy rate, raising interest rate, and all that, then it means that you're actually going to add to their cost of production, and you're asking that the prices of goods should go up, in addition to whatever price they will get from the fuel side. So then you are making the people even worse off. So I don't think that this is the time to take such a decision. You may be cautious, you may be monitoring, but it does not mean that you immediately transfer a cost which government itself or even the major players have not yet been impacted. Because even the fuel, we have fuel stocks, isn't it? So currently they were bought at a certain price. Let people enjoy the price at which they were bought. And I think in their calculation, they always project a bit of possible adjustment into it. So those projections have already been factored. Don't just base it on the current situation and then suddenly increase prices of everything. I don't think that's what consumers are expecting from businesses, from manufacturers, and manufacturers are also not expecting similar situation from our major policymakers. So let it be fair to everyone. Let's have a possible reduction. If the calculation in the past points to that direction, let's go on that direction and get it reduced, get interest rate down, get businesses going. And then what happens in the near future, we'll all observe and we'll know that at that point, if there's a need to adjust in a way that is unfavorable, everybody will understand and everybody will accommodate it.
Mr. Wuni is making a very important point about how government should manage the current situation now so that thing doesn't get out of hand. Do you also share in the school of thought about reviewing some taxes on the build-up of petroleum products? Some have pushed for, and not Mr. Wuni, and a lot other industry people have pushed for a review of the Dunsol levy and all the rest, that certain levies should be taken out so that at least it reduces that expected increase a little bit. The position of Ghana industry, do you also share in that thoughts and argument that government should take a second look at some of the levies on the price build-up of petroleum products?
Oh, sure. In a situation like this, you want to first cushion your people a little bit. And you also want to be sure that there's stability in pricing over a certain period. The frequent adjustments in prices as a result of changes in the external environment has effects. It doesn't help people to plan. So if it is happening that as a result of this current development, for international oil prices are going up, government can say that in order not to put too much burden on my people, we can review some of the levies. And in a situation like this, it is properly done if it is necessary. So I have absolutely no objection against it with that suggestion. Some of the levies can be reviewed in a situation like this so that consumers will be cushioned a little bit. If situation normalizes, those levies that are really justifiable can be reinstated. For now, except that as we speak immediately, I don't see any impacts immediately of this development at the international level. We are envisaging that if it continues, it will have a negative effect. At that point, government will have to do the needful, take out some of the levies and all that. For now, we can go with whatever we have now. But in the near future, if prices, the international price of oil continue to skyrocket, we would like to see some withdrawal of the levies or some tax adjustments here and there in order to cushion consumers and keep prices and everything stable. Because that is how situations are managed. There's always, and even in businesses, we have the same situation. Sometimes you see an improvement and a windfall. When you have such a windfall, you reserve. It goes into your reserve. In bad days, then you cushion it. So you keep things in a much more stable condition. And the same way government also operates. I think that if in the current situation, prices are going to go up, and we've made some windfalls in the past, you can use it to cushion your consumers in the form of lowering some of the taxes and keeping people in a stable condition. So that is a good call.
Mr. Wuni, does this current global challenge also makes a case on how we can diversify our business and also look more inward for a lot of these things? I know that at the place that you used to work previously, you were looking at growing, getting local farms and all the rest to get some of the source. You diversified a lot to try and look at the local market, because some of these shocks doesn't help your operations.
No, generally, like I said earlier in the beginning of this discussion, the war presents opportunities and also presents risks. The opportunity for us as a country is that we can begin to look at sourcing, providing incentives for industries and businesses to source raw materials locally. We have a lot of maize locked up in farms. We have beans locked up in farms. We have sorghum, the breweries and all that. They use this maize and all other stuff for their millet and then all that for their production. Incentives will be provided. This must be encouraged to do that. If this war traveling long term, there's no those fruit juices factories and whatever not that import concentrates. They can begin to look at situations where we can source local pineapples and oranges and then all that and produce locally. So there's a great opportunity. So it's not just all bad scenario that we come and then create panic that prices are going to go up and then all whatever. No, there's a great opportunity. And also another opportunity is for the government to be able to, right now, there's a war. Apart from this saying there's goods being smuggled into the country and whatever, they are controlling the borders. So there's an opportunity for them to raise in more revenue for them, for their own device. So it's not like a law situation and then we're saying that this and it will affect us and then so let us increase prices, let us do all whatever not. I think that it presents us a good opportunity. There's no war in Nigeria, there's no war in Benin, there's no war in Cote d'Ivoire, there's no war. So Africa Continental Free Trade is an opportunity that we can begin to export to those countries and then all that, and then we can take advantage. So we can still do trade and do trade very well. It all depends on how the government handles the situation. And I keep emphasizing that it is not all about the external factors which we don't have control over. We have control over internal factors, and the internal factors are the factors of high transportation, exchange rate volatilities, how to manage our exchange rate, how to manage the interest rate, how to manage transport costs, and then how to manage fuel costs, how to manage transport, electricity tariffs, utility tariffs, and all that. Those are all within our purview. How we handle that will depend, or how we handle that will be a function of what will now happen in the country.
This is PM Express Business Edition. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we look at development in the Middle East, rising crude prices and expected increase in fuel prices locally and the impact on Ghanaian businesses, those who are in the food and beverage sector and those who are in the manufacturing sector. Let me get your final thought for you in terms of what do you want government to do in terms of managing the current situation to lessen any shocks on the manufacturing sector?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things that have to happen. First of all, what manufacturers expect to see is reasonable stability in a lot of ways. As we keep saying, the last year or so, we've experienced reasonable stability in the macroeconomic environment. And that has been very positive, and manufacturers are talking positively about it, and it's impacting positively on their businesses. So we expect this to continue. We appreciate that when there are external shocks, somehow it affects the whole economy. So government somehow will say, okay, I have to pass it on. But if you do so, it will distract the entire economy. So therefore, some level of absorption of the challenges is necessary. So if fuel prices are going up, because it is privately done, and the nature of it, the automatic adjustment systems in all these requires that every 2 weeks or so when you are reviewing fuel prices, you have no choice than to pass on. That can be accommodated, but government has to be very, very careful in managing the economy such that the confidence level will remain. Because if the macroeconomic variables changes, it will have a negative effect on the manufacturing sector. So if we manage it very well, we could still have stability in the city in spite of the challenges that is going on. And I think so far, Bank of Ghana has done quite well in always intervening in the market and making sure that the city is kept at certain exchange rate levels. And I think we should continue that effort. Secondly, the confidence that we need should continue to be there if we keep the macroeconomic stability right. But I will make a point on this. Remember during the COVID period, there's a point that we made.
Mr. Awuni
industries made and manufacturers and everybody also reiterated that point, that we need to prepare ourselves for situations like this because we are highly import dependent as a country. We depend on imports of fuel. Of course, we produce some fuel, some oil as well, but we are a net importer. And therefore, what you produce is not as much as you import. And a lot of your goods that you are consuming in your market, you are importing them. Even the raw materials as manufacturers, the raw materials we use, the bulk of it is imported. So we are highly import-dependent economy. And therefore, any external shocks comes in directly to affect your macros. All the good work you've done can just go down the drain because there are some challenges in the external environment. And I think that this is something that is happening and it's happening again.
Okay.
It happened during the COVID. Okay. It happened during the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay. Today it's happening again. The lesson we should pick from this is that we should think long-term. Okay. We should develop our local manufacturing capacity, grow your manufacturing sector so that you reduce your costs and the challenges associated with the international external market.
Mr. Kwabwa, thank you. Because of time might not be on our best friend. Let me come to Mr. Awuni in terms of your final thought as you close the discussion on this.
My final thought is that government has the ability to contain this in the next 2-3 months. No fuel price increases can go up, but they should withdraw the taxes and then all that. They should keep a stronghold and enforce this ban on transit goods and if possible expand the list, and they will see more revenue coming into the country. They should ensure the exchange rate they are able to manage the exchange rate. There is no reason whatsoever that ECG utilities prices must go up. I have always contended and will continue to contend that it is efficiency first. ECG cannot continue to lose 27-32% of its power and have any reason to increase tariffs, nor do they have any right whatsoever to increase tariffs when they are unable to collect whatever they have sold into the market. An average collection rate of 42-50% is abysmal. Let the government institutions, government is the biggest consumer of electricity. Let them pay their dues, and then the consumer will benefit. There is every justification, in my opinion, that tariffs must even go down, not for it to go up, because tariff rates in industry and in residential are among the highest in Africa. The president are highest in West Africa. The president, His Excellency the President, confirmed also what I have been saying. It is efficiency first. Let us be able to contain whatever the situation for now. And in doing that, we'll be able to manage any price surge. Prices may go up in the next 1 month, 2 months, because of the other goods that are coming in, because of this increase in insurance and all that. But it will be very minimal if the government manages all that. The new fumigation levy is another one that should be cleared. SPN, they are campaigning that they should bring. There's no reason for any introduction of any new form of cost into the cost structure in Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. John Awuni, for making our guest here in the studio. This has been PM Express Business Edition. I know the debate will still be going on in your homes about how do we better mitigate these external shocks on businesses and the economy. So Chuma Kwabwa is the Chief Executive Association of Ghana Industries, has been our guest on Zoom, and also our guest in studio, the Chairman of the Film Association, that is Mr. John Awuni. This has been PM Express Business Edition. Have a great day.